Thank you. All right, well, you guys got my names. You know who I am. We talked a little bit about Quarry Ready Mix. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Just kind of talk about, everybody else has talked about what these in-management, in-transit slump management systems are. We've implemented them. I'm going to let you guys know how that went for us. So pretty simple. The timeline in 2020, end of 2020, ghost mode. We talked about that earlier. Basically, they just get the data. At the end of the 3 months, they share it with you. We thought we were perfect. We knew what we were doing. Our slumps were great coming out of the plant. We were not. So once we did that, once we got our slumps back in line coming out of the plant, very quickly we pivoted from just water added to admixture added in transit. Some of our biggest challenges were the batchmen, just getting some buy-in from them, the drivers as well. The biggest one is the customers in the field. So the biggest success we've had, the biggest things we've learned is it starts when we sell the job. It starts when our salesmen are out there talking to our customers about making sure they order the correct slump. It's that simple. We then follow that up with the order takers to make sure that they're really talking about slump. Basically, I have one mix. You can order it in 3 different slump ranges. It's the same mix. So, like I said, when we started this, it was kind of just go for it. Bull in a china shop. I didn't really give anybody a chance to say no to it. We just went for it. So, Ken Riley, our Verify rep, we needed his help guiding implementation, best practices. All of our senior management bought in, sales department bought in, dispatch bought in. Big thing was dialing in the mixes out of the plants. You actually saw my data earlier. You can see once you get the water correct, everything gets better right away. There is some variability when it comes to aggregates. That's the other thing we've learned over the years. It can make a big difference. We implemented 3 plants in less than 3 months, and we've been on it ever since. Again, dialing in the mixes started out with just asking the batch guys to tell us when they're holding out too much water or adding water. Once we got that right, life got easier. Want to talk about the amount of data you get with one of these systems? It's endless. Our management team digs in when we're looking for opportunities for improvement. The conclusion that kind of each one of the team has figured out, for the batchmen, ensuring that the loads are going out at the correct slump, they're very competitive, right? We post that once a week. They get to see percentage of their loads that are correct. They don't want to be the last guy. They want to be the first one. The drivers, ease of use, right? My drivers now have figured out it's really easy to drive that ready mix truck, to be safe, to do those things. Maybe not so much focus on that slump anymore. And then accountability. They'll keep each other accountable. Customers, consistency. You know, if you can produce the same concrete when it comes to workability and flowability and finishability time and time again, they love it. Time savings, right? We're really able to compact our day, right? I'm sure everybody in here that is a producer understands that everybody wants concrete at the same time. So the more efficient you can get there. And then ease of use. We've made it really simple on both ends. So, and then sales and dispatch efficiency, time cost savings. When it comes to actually setting up the instructions to get Verify to do what we want to do, it's kind of like ordering a vehicle, right? You go in there and you tell it what to do. I probably have 25 to 30 mix instructions, and each plant of mine is different on the mix instructions. I've had to learn that over the years. How to mix, when to add water, when to add admixture, how and when, and then the actual slump range you're looking for. So pretty simple. You tell it how many revs after loading, whether it's a wet or a dry plant, and then you let it know if you need to add any material after loading. Ask about adding water. You can allow it to add water up to the designed amount of water in that mix. Pretty important to make that decision. If you allow it to add more, your variability goes through the roof. If you don't allow it to do it, and you really start understanding that for us, we're trying to produce concrete that we know what's in that load of concrete 100%, and it's working. So, and then you also tell it how much revolution it needs. If you get out to site and the customer has ordered the incorrect slump and needs to bring it up, you need to know how much mixing time that needs. And it can be very different from mix to mix. Can it automatically add admixture? Yep, pretty simple. That's another big one, the amount that you want it to put in per yard to make it the change of slump. That can change from time to time. Aggregates are typically the change there, or a change in cement can cause some problems there. Then the maximum amount, you may want to put a maximum amount in. We do, just so if it goes above that, it's a flag for us to say we've got a problem. On the left, kind of the similar graph to what you guys have seen before. Top is slump, next one down is the water. It always uses a little bit of water to flush out the admixture. As you can see, it's such a small amount at the end of the day. And then the amount of admixture. Then at the end, this graph is kind of showing you what the slump can be. We typically come out with either a 4 or a 6 out of the plant. And then the drivers, when they get on the job, if the customer tells them to add water, my guys don't even know what that means anymore. They literally got to tell them they want a different slump. And if the customer wants a higher slump than that mix is allowed to do, my drivers have to tell the customer, call into dispatch. At that point, we can typically fix it for the customer, but we've at least started the conversation, right? Anybody that's been into this industry had a customer that orders a 5-inch slump and is pouring a 9, right? It's happened to everybody in here who's done this. Again, we can fix it on the back end, but the conversation gets started. So, again, just how the admixture and stuff goes in. You can see on this one a little bit about the discharge slump versus target. When we are unmanaged, you can kind of see it's all over the place, and it's definitely higher. When you get to the managed portion, you can see how much closer and how much better we are on that. This is a really good graph to look at. You can see in the green, that's our ghost mode. This is initial slump right after we're batching. You can see over the years we are getting tighter and tighter and tighter to being within the range we want to be. So again, the other thing we've learned over the years is, I think I brought this up last year as well, coarse aggregate moisture is so important, and we don't have a lot of good tools to use to measure that. I can tell everybody in here I'm using Polar Moist, and it's working. But your coarse aggregate moisture ranges in Phoenix for us on a hot day is 2.5%. And you multiply that out, that's 2.5 inches of slump. So it's hard to get that thing tight if you're not measuring that. The next one is job site arrival. Again, look at the difference between ghost mode, right? Our contractors were dealing with us not doing our job well compared to what they deal with now. I mean, it's about as tight as it can get. Slump at discharge, again, ghost mode to now, much, much better. Last is water at discharge, somewhat similar, but as you can see that first year we were definitely adding a lot more water. Once we went to admit and transit, that middle half of 2021, you can see how much better that gets. This is a water variability versus strength. You can see on the left one, the poor control. The blue one is when we have good control over it. Strength and its variability. So 762 data points. You can see the blue line is the strength. The next slide will correlate with pounds of cement. And then you see the variability in the strength. So just from the jump, right, we start out at 3,500 PSI. Just going past ghost mode and actually understanding what we're doing a little bit better, we already jump up to 4,000 PSI, jump all the way up to a little over 4,000 PSI. Come 2022, we're at 4,700 PSI. And it'll be really interesting on this next slide, I think, is the cement content. Yep, so as you can see, we're lowering cement content, right? And our strengths are going up, which is not something you would typically think would happen, but our standard deviation is getting better and better as we go as well. we started at 440-ish, got all the way up to almost 450. We're down to 425. This doesn't have our most current data. We've pulled out another 10 to 15 pounds since. So we're continually lowering our cement content just by getting our standard deviation closer. This is cement efficiency versus cement content. Again, just by simply lowering that cement content, understanding exactly how much water we're putting in these loads, lowering all of those things, getting more consistent has helped us just be better. Last one, strength versus over-design. We're still over-designed, right? I keep pulling cement out, and we continue to be over-designed. There's always that little bit of a worry to the testing, which was talked about quite a bit in here today, as to how much you can truly pull out just due to the variability of testing. So something that I think needs to be looked at closer. If we take out some low breaks pre-verify, we're at almost 4% failure. Once you post-verify, we're at 0.82%, which is basically what ASTM ACI states you're going to have. The other big thing here, right, with all that cement savings, the amount of CO2 we've reduced. So we're at 4 million tons, or 4 million pounds of CO2 and counting. That number will continue to go up for us. It poses some new problems that come with reducing cement, right? Now I've got finishability to start working about and pumpability as you start to lower this cement down and down. This was one mix out of one plant, right? I've got 7 plants at the end of the year. So you can see my savings are through the roof. These things really work. They can be very consistent. And it really is about how you approach this and look at the data and keep digging into the data. So I think that's it.
Awesome.